people. The investment conference is not about how many people come, even if there can be 5. I think the most important thing is the the commitments that we receive. So the reason you had 1,800 people, some people when you say investment conference might not understand that we are looking for investors, so they might think there's projects. So that's why we can't keep anyone out. And that's why what we do, the reason why you had 1,800, we have a hybrid because we can't feed 1,800 people in one venue. So that's why there was 1,000. So we are not expecting any number because we are not chasing numbers of people. We're chasing impact. So it doesn't matter whether there's 50. You can have 20 investors, each one of them investing $1 billion. That's 20 billion. That's what we want. So this is not an ANC conference where there must be delegates who must vote for this or that candidate. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't arise. And even the target, we just put the target because last year we said we want to raise 800 billion in the next 3 to 5 years. So we hope this year we can raise 200, but we could raise 20 this year. Next year we raise whatever. So the target is over a period of 5 years. It's 800 billion in the next 5 years. So whatever number you raise this year doesn't matter. What is important, which is what I was speaking to there, is because a pledge is just a declaration of an intention. It doesn't mean much. Someone might say we want to build a hotel and then maybe get a better offer in Botswana and go and build it there. So that's why the most important thing is to convert those, which today we were demonstrating that at least 17 out of 60 projects. So it shows you that we're tracking, we're making follow-up. And those projects are sitting at different levels. So there's different reasons why projects will move at different pace and all that. So this is not it's not about feeling good as government about the pronouncements we made. It's about the impact that this must make, impact that must be felt. Gauteng economy is the biggest, Colin, but other provinces are not subordinate to Gauteng. They've got similar status. So, but if Gauteng succeeds, the country succeeds. It's very important. You've got Gauteng sitting at 34% in the economy. So if you increase that, it has a ripple effect on the economy. But our approach is that other provinces must also succeed, because if they don't succeed, you will then have a problem of in-migration. And that creates a lot of problems for us, because it means more kids want schools, more people want clinics and hospitals. It means it places a huge burden on our limited resources. So for us, it's not about that. That's why in our economic development plan, which we will unveil soon, sometime in March, I think after our budget, we are looking at how we impact the neighboring provinces in the immediate. Limpopo, Free State, Mpumalanga, Northwest. We even, for the first time, consulted those provinces in developing our economic plan. It was not a Gauteng economic plan, because whether you like it or not, when you are in Mpumalanga, whatever happens in Gauteng impacts you. When you are in Northwest, someone who's in Hartbeespoort, who's in Rustenburg, they're as good as being in Gauteng. Someone who's in Sasolburg, who's in Paris. So it's not so much about Gauteng telling others what to do. It's how we cooperate with them. The R1 trillion the president talks about is what do we have in the fiscus over a period of time, not what comes. So you use that trillion rand to ask the private sector to add on their. So that's what the fiscus over, I'm sure, 3 years will be able to inject into that. The township economy, you know, it's very important to understand, because sometimes people think that township economy is about it's about giving the crumbs to the people in the township. And it's about, when you talk township economy, you must have some bag full of money and say this is for the townships. It doesn't work like that. Because economy, whether it's townships or what, the economy is about 3 things in the main. It's about production, it's about consumption, it's about money. So when you talk about township economy, can you talk about production in the townships? I don't think so. Can you talk about consumption? Big. It's a problem. Money, yes, it's there, but the money does not circulate and it does not go into the pockets of people there. It leaves the townships because of the presence of your big retailers who are there, who live with it and all that. So when you talk about township economy, talk about real economy, making sure that these 3 things you're talking about, there must be production, so that the entrepreneurs in the township must not be limited to owning taxis, taverns, and spaza shops only. The products that are sold in those tuck shops, the product that people consume on a daily basis. World Bank a few years back estimated that township economies are worth at least 100 billion rands. But that money does not circulate. It's not in the pockets of people, but it's money that poor people contribute and all that. So when you want to grow the economy in its entirety, you are not isolating township economy. It's part of it, so that we don't manifest. So you want us to have a manifesto for township economy. I'm trying to explain to you how the economy works. I'm not an economist, but at least I was able to summarize to you how the economy works. So if there was an investor who spoke there. They've got a project in Midvaal. In Midvaal there's a township called Sicelo. That factory they're building is not in Sicelo, but the people of Sicelo will get jobs there. So it doesn't have to be in Sicelo for them to get jobs there. The issue which we are concerned about, it's not about people of Sicelo getting jobs only. It's about people of Sicelo participating in the value chain. It's about the people of Sicelo manufacturing, whatever that. So that's what we are. So you want us to say, in Alexandra, you get this? No, not in a what is this election mode and promising people this. We are building the economy. We are serious. It's a serious matter. It's not about saying this. Ultimately, if it does not benefit the people, the Freedom Charter says South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white. All, not only people in the townships. All. But we believe that, now you want us to talk politics, we must emancipate blacks in general and Africans in particular. Where are blacks in general? Where are Africans in particular? They're in the townships. So everything we do, it's about pursuing our strategic objective, which is the liberation of blacks in general and Africans in particular. So you don't have to be mechanical and say the factory must be in Sicelo. I'm just giving you, he was here, he was speaking, I don't know if you heard him. They are implementing, so in Sicelo, which is an informal settlement, the people will get jobs. But we are saying to them, don't just give people jobs. You must what do you need when you manufacture? What constitutes the value chain? That's why I was talking about building the productive capacity of township economy. Otherwise, what's the point of saying you will get bread, but who manufactures bread? Who bakes that bread? We don't want people to get bread. We want them to bake the bread. And we want them to own farms that also help. I'm not sure, because maybe me and you, because we are not, economists, that's why we don't understand each other. But I'm trying in the simplest way to explain it, that we want people to participate in the economy in a meaningful way. That's what we want. And by being meaningful doesn't mean that you must be mechanical and say, I mean, you could have people of Ivory Park, of Thembisa, of Alexandra, of Deep Sloot, and all that, benefiting from an investment that is in Midrand. For instance, the issue is, how are they benefiting? Are they only laborers, or are they participating meaningfully in the economy? That's what we are worried about. And everything we do, you don't have to give business incentives. Profit is incentive enough for them. And that's why there is no incentive, but they're already in the townships. There is no mall that is owned by township people in Gauteng. The factories, limited as they are, which are in the townships, it's not owned by township people. So big business does not need incentives. Profit is incentive enough for them, because they have realized that township economies are lucrative. As I've said, they are worth 100 billion. What more incentive you need to go, and there's 100 billion there. Why must we give you incentive to go and make money? The incentive they will probably need, it's certainty about crime, it's about infrastructure, creating a conducive environment, which is what government must do. But we don't have to be giving them any money. Why do we give you money for you to make money? We shouldn't be giving you money to make money. You must make money. That's why you're in business. So there is no incentives for them to go to the townships. It's not like they're doing townships a favor. They are actually benefiting by going there. Unfortunately, when they go there, they don't work with the township people, and hence they don't benefit, which is what we want. And perhaps if there is any potential investment on the part of government, we should be giving to the small, medium enterprises to be able to participate and put the skin in the game and all that. So we wouldn't give big business money except to create a conducive environment for them. Tabo's question on infrastructure breakdown is related to your question. And perhaps there is an explanation, and whether that explanation is justified or not, and whether that explanation helps or not, it's something else. We need to firstly create context, and the first important thing is that Gauteng as a province, in 1994, Gauteng had 7 million people. In 1994, that's 34 years back. Today, Gauteng has got 16 million people. And the land size of Gauteng has not increased. As you know, the land size of Gauteng has always remained the smallest in the country. So what does that mean? It means it puts huge pressure on the infrastructure, whether it's roads, whether it's sanitation, whether it's water, and all that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that when you look at the performance of the economy, in 1994, the Gauteng, and I use 1994 as a base, and I'll come to a question. The Gauteng economy, the GDP was worth about 700 plus million. Today it's about 1.2, 1.4 trillion, somewhere there. So what is the point? The point is that the population, the Gauteng population, which is accompanied by many problems, has been growing faster than the economy. Why am I making this point? For you to get money to be able to deal with infrastructure and all that, you collect taxes. The monies, government monies, are all collected through SARS, the bulk of the money. And there's a regime in how resources are distributed to the three spheres. There's something called division of revenue. So if SARS collects 1.1 trillion and we need 1.4 trillion, for example, as a minimum. But if you look, the MMC of Johannesburg, MMC Masuku was speaking there, she was saying they need 100 billion to deal with infrastructure in Gauteng. Their budget is not even 100 billion. Their budget is 89 billion. And that includes salaries, maintenance, conditional grants, and all that. But there's something, I'm not sure if you were listening to the speech, which I think is very important, that she says their revenue debt ratio is sitting at 29%, and the acceptable norm is 45%, meaning private sector can come in and they will be able to repay private sector because they still have a place to go raise and all that. So economics is a very, I'll say complex, but it might look easy, but it's very complex. So the reason I'm giving you a long-winded answer is to say there is no simple answer to it. Those who are in politics would want to create an impression, depending on where you're sitting, that is only about non-performance of this or that mayor or whoever. That must not be discounted. It could be possible. But what I'm saying is that there's a lot of issues involved. But the third issue I want to raise is that, as you know, Johannesburg is a very, very old city, a city of gold, started in the 1800s. And the infrastructure that has been put here in Joburg and in many cities, whether it's water infrastructure, electricity and all that, is old. So some of the problems is because of that infrastructure. And that's why most of the municipalities, when you look at the reports that they give, their water losses are huge. They are sitting at about 50%. Why are they huge? Because those pipes breaks every time and they must be patched and all that, and they lose a lot of water. So I'm just giving, I'm not working in a municipality, but I'm just giving you a broader context of why this. So when you speak to the investors, you must be able to firstly explain the nature of the problem and then demonstrate that you will be able to solve the problem and demonstrate that you've got the commitment. There's already work that is being done by Minister of Water and Sanitation, Deputy Minister. In fact, they're here. They could not even attend the State of the Nation because the President says this matter is very important. But it doesn't mean that they will resolve it now, tomorrow. It's like load shedding. The question you're asking 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we were being asked the same about load shedding. How can you guarantee investors and da 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 da? And if we were to use the load shedding example, we demonstrated that we've got the will and the capacity. Because we've got that will and capacity, we just need to replicate that when it comes to water and solve it. We've proven, we've experienced that we can do it. So it's not whether we can do it or not. And then the resources. And I don't think there's a problem of resources. The issue is how we coordinate them, because there's a lot of resources in the private sector. There might be minimum resources in the public sector. It's how we deploy those resources and coordinate with the private sector to make sure that we have an impact. So it's a long-winded answer because you can't just say A or B. You have to understand the context. The issue about Gauteng has got an economic development plan. So the most important thing is that you must have a plan that is comprehensive, that is integrated, that is relevant, and that encompasses everyone. So we work with municipalities, all departments, national government. That's why we will unveil that plan, economic plan, and say what are the targets we're putting for the economy? What sectors do we want to target? What skills do you need? What are you going to do? So we've got that plan, which answers all those issues. And we have, and that's why I was saying we even consulted the neighboring provinces, not just ourselves only. Northwest, Mpumalanga, Free State, Limpopo, because they're here. So we do have a plan. And then township, Tishi's township, hostels and all that. Is the issues I was talking to, that we need to coordinate better. We must make sure that we work with people in those areas. That's what we are doing. Yeah. About it. When you look at the numbers, Western Cape and KZN combined, they are still not bigger than Gauteng. So it can be a threat. That's one. But two, one of the industries that Western Cape is doing on is the BPO industry, the business processing. That's why we even went to Western Cape and check how they do it and all that. And the good thing about the BPO industry is that it absorbs a lot of people, especially young people. And that's why we will also be focusing on it. But the third thing is that the economy is intertwined. The separation, I think it's a bit artificial, if I was to put it that way. Because when you look at the GDP of the country and all that, you aggregate what happens everywhere and all that. So it's artificial, and I don't think there's, because I'm not a federalist, so you shouldn't be worried about the success of whether KZN, Western Cape, or whatever, in this or that area. And by the way, even with those investments and all that, Gauteng is still leading in terms of attracting investments and all that. So for me, I think it's about making sure that we look at what are the things that makes us as a country to struggle with investment. Crime is one of them. And as you know, Western Cape is one of the crime-ridden provinces, Gauteng and KZN as well. So we have to make sure that we deal with crime decisively in Gauteng, in Western Cape, so that it's easy for people to come and invest, whether here in Gauteng or in Western Cape. But as long as they invest in the country. By the way, whatever the money that is made through taxes, doesn't matter where it's collected from, it gets into one pot. And when it's in that pot, there's a principle of that is used by national government to distribute, including population. Gauteng has got the largest population, so it will still get more than more. Education, health, and other things and all that. So for me, I'm not worried at all. And that's why Gauteng can't be a province that competes with other provinces. But it must be a province that complements other provinces, that cooperates with them, work with them. Then we can compete as a country with the rest of the world. So we're not worried at all. If there's an area where a province is doing well, like Western Cape, I went to Western Cape last year on the BPO just to understand what is it that they're doing well. And we got to understand what is it, which is not rocket science, just basic things of making sure that you are available, you provide infrastructure, you deal with those issues of security, amongst others, in those places where the activities are taking place. But I think crime must be solved everywhere, not only where there's business activities. People must feel safe. So we're not worried at all about Western Cape. Gauteng is too big to be worried about other provinces. If you ask me, my biggest worry is to get the Gauteng GDP to at least 40%. It has been hovering around 34% for a very long time. So the question we must ask is, how can we get it to 40%? If we get it to 40%, Western Cape can increase with another 5%. It doesn't matter. KZN with another 10, it doesn't matter. We'll still be having the largest share. Yeah.